Hey everyone, welcome to the live magic Q&A with Madame Pamita and my special guest, who is Shannon from the Sacramento Healing Tree. I always want to say the Healing Tree, Sacramento.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Sacramento Healing Tree. We're super excited to have her here. She's been a long time colleague of mine, amazing spiritual worker. I've done work with her. in the sense that she's done work for me in doing the singing bowls, and we're going to find out about all that she does here. So we're so happy to have her here with us. If you're watching this video on YouTube or wherever else, and you want to be a part of the live Q&A, because what you don't know is that we've got people here with us live that are asking these questions, and you want to be a part of that because maybe you have a question about magic or spirituality or tarot, divination, spell work, spirit guides, any of these mystical things that are in my way to answer. I'm so happy to answer those questions and in this live format. The way to do that is to go to spellsquad.com and you sign up over there. That will give you the link so that you can join us. We meet every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's like our get together in the clubhouse. Now we've got a new clubhouse, a revamped capabilities, and I'm kind of excited to see what that offers. It also gives you like the links, automatically sends you a reminder link when you sign up on that in that way. So that's kind of helpful. So you also have an ability to add this to your calendar so you can get a reminder. So there's some things as we're going into this more webinar format, there's some extra bells and whistles that can be really helpful for you keeping on top of this and coming and joining us every week. We're very excited to have everybody here. You guys always have amazing questions, and I'm super excited to tackle this question. But before we get started with that, I wanted to let you know one thing that I have coming up. Two things, actually, I want to let you know. I'm going to be going to the Northwest Tarot Symposium in Portland, Oregon. That takes place on March 5th, 6th, and 7th, I believe are the dates. It's that weekend of the first weekend in March. I'll be there. If you're going to be there in Northwest Tarot Symposium, I'll be teaching the Palmistry Tarot mashup class along with my colleague Jim Barker. So that's something very exciting. Another thing that's going on is I have my new book, The Book of Candle Magic. It's available for pre-order right now. If you want to find out how you can pre-order it, well, first of all, you can go ahead and go to my site and go click on author/events, and you'll see all the events that I'm doing. And you'll also see the book and a form that you can fill out to kind of hold your place for a signed copy of the book if you want to do that. If you don't need a signed copy, you're not interested, there's all kinds of other ways that you can pre-order it. You can pre-order it through your local bookstore, which is really what I recommend because that has great benefit beyond just you getting this amazing book. It benefits the bookstore. The bookstore can stay in business so that there are places for authors like me to go and do signings or classes and things like that. So that's very helpful. You can also, help support that bookstore and keep that bookstore up and going. And it also signals the bookstore to buy perhaps an extra copy or two to put on the shelves, because if there's an interest in someone pre-ordering it, that probably indicates to them that this is a book that's worth having. If they carry that kind of book on their shelves, it's a good book to have. So I really encourage you to go to your bookstore and do that. You can also pre-order it at your library. So you don't even have to buy anything. You can go to your local library and ask them to have this book and see, if they will pre-order it too. That's also very helpful. And then a lot of people get to exposure to that book and it doesn't cost them anything, which is really great. So there's a couple ways you can really kind of maximize your good karma in that way. Of course, you can pre-order it on Amazon and indie bookstore, IndieBound, Barnes & Noble, Llewellyn.com. It's coming out on Llewellyn. You can pre-order it there as well. And if you do, let me know. You can put a comment on Instagram or send me a direct message on Instagram. And I always give a little shout out to the people that have pre-ordered because it has a profound impact for a writer to have a pre-order. So I really encourage you to do that. So that being said, let's get to our show and let's get to Shannon. So Shannon, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
What do I do? Well, I call myself a metaphysical healer. And that's because there's not just one thing that I do. It's just, I'm basically an energy worker. So I'm a Reiki Master. I have classes and I do Reiki. I do something called an aura healing and an aura cleaning that I learned wow, way long ago. I don't even want to say how many years that was, but anyway, so, and what I do with that is, those are the things that I really like the most, because you know, like life, when you have like a really bad day and you get really stressed out, your energy kind of, you get weighed down. And basically what it is I call it that life slimes you and I de-slime you. And which everybody needs to be de-slimed, you know? And so, I'm also a medium. And so I do the normal readings, but I also do this thing called the departed soul healing, where it looks like a guided meditation, but what I'm doing is I'm walking you over to the other side. And then so you get to have your own experience with your departed loved one, but I'm giving you a healing, I'm giving the connection a healing, and then I'm sending healing over to the other side. I'm not quite sure what it does over there, but it's going. So then I do numerology, and I do tarot and oracle as well.
I love that. You know, this is a fascinating topic, and there's something that I want to ask you a question, and I get to jump the line because I'm here.
Well, it is your show.
It is my show. So the thing that I'm thinking about is, like, I was just doing a session for a client the other day, and that client had gone through some trauma where they were violated, and I felt as if their aura had a tear from that violation that they had maintained for decades, like that they had not mended that aura, and as a result, like all kinds of stuff would just come in. They didn't have like boundaries, or really couldn't create boundaries, which was why it was stemming from this violation that happened when they were younger. Is that something that you've encountered before too?
Well, it's really interesting. It's because what I find is when I'm doing a healing and I can feel around their body, there's big holes, and they're often they're around the chakras, either in the front or the back. And that would absolutely line up with what you're talking about, in that if we don't remove, I personally believe that there's like stagnant energy that's kind of keeping that open. And so if you remove the stagnant energy and then you can smooth out the aura in those particular spots, heal it, then that wound can start to heal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like sometimes I get these hits, and I'm not an auric healer. I'm not that, but maybe I need to send this client to you to get some kind of healing work done, because I don't know if they know how to do it themselves. I was just seeing it, but I wasn't really able to mend it. I mean, I can mend magic, you know, that they can do to help, but it's really not directly addressing the issue. And I think having that is something that can be so helpful. You do remote stuff. That's amazing too, you know, beyond just doing like a reading, but you do remote healing work. Like, which of the modalities do you do remotely?
Actually, the only thing that I don't do remotely, so everything is remote, except for I have this anxiety treatment that kind of needs to be done in person. But other than that, everything is done remotely. And you know, I mean, I like to have fun as well when I'm doing this. So when I'm doing a remote healing, I use, you know how people have proxy dolls and they look like people. My proxy doll is a little owl. So he's got little arms and little legs, and you know, and I can do the front and the back. But I love owls, so my little proxy doll is an owl.
That's actually a great thing. It's like, if you're going to use something for a proxy, which I would call a poppet, you're using a poppet.
Yeah.
And magically, we would call it a puppet. You're doing sympathetic magic. You're working on something symbolically that represents somebody that's not there. So in my world, I call that a puppet. You call it a proxy doll. But to find something that you love, that you feel affection for, it's such a beautiful way, because that means automatically you're going to come with a loving heart toward that person as you're doing that healing work, right?
Yeah.
So good. So good. What a beautiful thing. Yeah.
And what I like about that is also, I find it ironic and fun, is that my very Christian mother gave me that. So that's fun too. So
that's funny. subverting. You also were saying, you know, one of the things that, you know, when I have guests come on, I always offer the opportunity that if they wanted to offer something special to the people who are watching this or participating in this, watching this after the fact, that you offer some kind of special, and you were eagerly saying, yeah. So what you want to tell them a little about the special that you're going to offer them?
So normally a 30-minute session of an aura healing would be $50. And what I've done is for the next 2 weeks, I'm offering that remotely for only $35. And
Such a deal.
yeah, it's a pretty good deal. So the way that you can get this deal is by going to sacramento-healingtree.com/Madame-Pamita-offer. And it should pull up a page where you can just click on there. I think it takes you to pay for it. And then you email me if there are any kind of concerns, and we can contact and we'll set up a time and we'll get the remote healing done.
When you do a remote healing, like let's say I'm curious because it's like when I do, let's say, candle work for someone,
Mm-hmm.
I take a picture of it before, take a picture of it after it's done. If they order a candle report, I do a video candle report for them. When they do a remote healing, is there anything, what do they get? I mean, like besides getting the benefit of the healing, what are they getting from you?
So what I'd like to do, so in a perfect world, what I say is, we schedule a time where you lay down in where you can be quiet. So then you can kind of maybe feel the energy. Sometimes that doesn't always work, but what I do is I go through all your chakras and I clean them out first. And that's always when my guides start to tell me things about you. So when I'm doing that remotely, instead of me telling you, I would just make notes of it. And so how you send the candle report, I would send a report for the healing. And then there was any questions you kind of have, and anything that I found, anything that, like it's very often that solar plexus seem to be the rage lately of what's blocked, and, because that's about control. And so, what I would suggest, like the affirmations you'd work with, the colors that you would want to surround yourself with, the things that you would want to try and work on to help heal that chakra.
I think that's a cultural moment that we're having of disempowerment as a society, American culture, I would say, US culture, of a lot of people feeling very, very disempowered. I'm not surprised that is the flavor of the last while,
Yeah, well,
it doesn't shock and surprise me.
Because, and because everything, the last few years, it feels like a lot of things are really out of control. And so the solar plexus is also where our control issues are. So we'll try and control things that we have absolutely no control over. And, as a recovering control freak myself, I can recognize my own kind. So, and we're in a universal 4-year, and that's about getting everything straight. And sometimes we can tip over to the other side and get too controlling about how we want everything to be functioning in a state.
That's so fun. We're having confirmation from people saying, that's totally what I'm feeling. Oh my God, that's totally what I'm feeling.
I'm not attacking you, Emily, I swear.
She's like, it's personal. All right, let's get to some. Are you ready to answer some questions?
Sure, yeah.
So what I'll do is, I'll let you take I'll read the question out. If you want to, I'll let you start taking it. And then if you don't have anything that if it's not your wheelhouse, not what you do, I'll do my best. And if we both can't answer it, then we'll pass it along out into the Google sphere. So, first question that comes up is from Nina, and she says, hi, everyone. What are some core gems to work with? I guess, like, what would be like your basic pack of gems that you would work with and their benefits?
Well, so I'm an empath, and because I'm very big into grounding and shielding, my favorite gem that I recommend to everybody is black tourmaline. Because
so good.
I love black tourmaline. So we were both at PantheaCon, and I will not go to that place without, I've got my, like right here, this is my black tourmaline bracelet. I constantly have it on, because it's protecting and it's grounding. And then, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish for what gems that I would want to have. Rose quartz is really good for the heart. I just, I'm really, really big on grounding. So I lean towards more of the grounding stuff. If I want to amp something up, of course, it's just like a quartz crystal. And another one that I really like is blue kyanite, because that helps align your chakras, which I really like. So
Blue kyanite is so interesting. I have a very deep relationship. It's not a typical stone that you find everywhere,
right.
but that one is like a very special one to me because I got a spirit saying that spirits that were wanting to work with me were like, you need to get a blue stone. And then I found blue kyanite.
Mm-hmm.
And the reparations, I had to repair the relationship between the spirit and me.
Mm-hmm.
And that stone is for reparation. Part of what that story. What?
I did not know that that was what that stone was for.
Part of what it's good for is like justice and reparation and bringing equilibrium. It's like I would call it like a Libra stone. You know,
Okay.
it's balance. So it would make sense that you would do it with chakra work because you're trying to balance, right? You're not trying to be too extreme in one extreme or the other, but it also has a kind of social justicey kind of energy of repairing rifts and bringing people together when there's been some kind of imbalance or injustice. So it's a very interesting stone, but I would say that's a kind of a unique one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, to me, it's like very specialized in certain ways too. I like it though.
But I'm like, I mean, for me, what I focus on your chakras. I'm all about the chakras. So I'm like, hey, the stone does it. It's awesome, and I also like smoky quartz because that also helps take in a lot of negativity and clear you from it. I like that one as well.
One of the things working with stones, I like totally have seen, and I think you probably experienced too, is the grounding effect of having a stone. So all stones, as you look at them or work with them, will have this kind of pulling energy. So there can be a grounding, even these stones that we would look at like clear quartz or carnelian or like high energy stones still have that grounded quality to them. So anything that you work with is going to, you could pick up a rock off of the ground. It doesn't have to be a crystal necessarily. Will have that solid, grounded, earthy energy to it. I think one of the ones that I love working with, a carnelian is one that I love working with. That's a fire stone. That's like it's like a creativity stone. But again, when you're talking about like the stone that you like, is like working with chakras. I am a creative, making music, making art, writing. So what do I want is more fire and passion and excitement and energy to do those things that I love and that creativity. So you're gonna, as you start to work with stones, I think, Nina, or anybody that's watching this, you're gonna find that there's not a one size fits all. Like everybody needs a stone, which is probably what you're saying, like, oh, you got stones for different things. You're going to find that there are certain stones that you gravitate to because it addresses what's important to you,
Right. And I'm Virgo, so I'm totally an earth person. I'm all into trees and all of that stuff. So I like all the ones that are like really grounding and rooting, and if, some, like you were saying, like fire and creativity, those are all different ones. So I totally agree with that. It's not.
Yeah. And Laura says, carnelian is great for sacral chakra healing, which is also that creativity, that source of creativity. Perfect. Yeah, I do get that feeling like you're going to find the stones that are your magic mix. I mean, just like anything, it's like, what's your favorite food? It's not going to be the same. Your favorite food and my favorite food are not going to be the same thing. It's like, what do you feel like you need? So you can, start to play with them. And there's plenty of stones that are not very expensive that you can start working with. I don't think you need to go cuckoo with having like, giant stone mandala grids and all of that stuff to feel like you're working with a crystal. It doesn't have to be big and dramatic. It doesn't have to be that giant amethyst cave. You see,
they're beautiful, but a little spendy.
Yeah. I mean, like sometimes I think we think more is better, or we think I have to have the biggest and the best. I have to have the Rolls Royce or not have a car at all. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case. One of the things that I often teach is like every plant, every stone, everything that's coming from nature has a vibration that can help you magically, even if it hasn't been discovered, even if you don't know, like you pick up a stone and you don't know what it's made out of or what the books would say it's good for, you can still can have a conversation with that stone and let it talk to you and tell you what it's good for, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's look at some more questions. All right. Okay. Let's see if you, I got one to throw at you, Shannon.
Oh, great.
What kind of magic, what kind of spell or magic could I do to my ex-husband who won't stop talking nasty, untrue stuff about me and get him to start to be nicer? This is from Eva. What do you do about gossip?
Well, I would break out some stop gossip stuff. You know, there's that. But the other thing that I'm a really big fan of is mirror boxes. So that you force them to look at themselves and you force them to look at their behavior. And, you know, when people are talking bad about somebody else and they're judging other people, it's really something that they've got going on inside them. So a mirror box is a perfect place to make them go, well, let me look at the root of why I'm doing this. So
explain to them what a mirror box is, because some people might not know.
So it's so you can, I mean, like there's times that I do this like just simply energetically where I put somebody in a mirror box, or you can actually make a box that's full of mirrors and put their name in it or put a poppet in it that is for them. And you know, I mean, I've seen boxes where they're sticky. They have like these sticky mirror that you can kind of cut out. I think you get it in craft stores and you can just put somebody in there. But I've been a fan of mirror boxes for a really long time.
Yeah, that you can make a mirror box. I mean, if you can get to a Michael's or, you know, any kind of craft store, you can get a box. I mean, I know at Michael's, they sell like little wooden boxes and cardboard boxes. And then you glue pieces either with double stick tape, with hot glue gun, or, you know, they come maybe even sticky ones. You stick those mirrors on all sides of the inside of the box. Mm-hmm. So then when you close the box, it's as if that poppet or that name or that photo or whatever you put in there is surrounded on all sides with a mirror so that they have to look at themselves. So they're a lot of work. Mirror boxes are a lot of work, but they do have an amazing effect. I think that's a great way to sort of let someone's energy kind of come back to them. It's another way of doing a reversing spell.
Well, it's almost like martial arts. You use their energy against them.
Yeah, that's what a reversing is. Exactly. You know, that's a great way of putting it. That's perfect. Yeah, so that can be a good way. I mean, the other thing is, you know, to calm that energy, you might want to also, I think there's a lot of jujitsu, spiritual jujitsu that you can do in a situation like this. Like, I think you could also do a spell that the intention is he finds a new target and it's not you. You could also calm the energy between the two of you by doing a peace and tranquility work that would just calm everything down. Working with cornflower is a beautiful flower for calming energy, balm of Gilead for healing and calming. So there's lots of herbs that you could work with in terms of putting them, dressing a candle with them, or making a little mojo bag. Another sneak freezer spell too, says Kim. That's great. But there's another sneaky way that you can do this. This is a really sneaky kind of working, good sneaky. Protection oil. So powerful protection oil that I sell. Now, different protection oils kind of have different qualities to them, but the one that I make is like a smoke screen. It's like you put that invisibility, I call it the oil. These are not the droids you're looking for. So that when whoever is gossiping about you, they don't see you energetically anymore. They're on to something else, something good, something bad. We don't care, but they don't see you anymore. And that can be what I think of is prime protection. Because if your bullies, the people that are picking on you don't see you, you can move freely. You have freedom. So you're not bound in, you're not starting an aggressive war with them. You're just invisible to them. And that can be a very, very good thing. I like it. Introverted people probably would like my protection oil.
Yeah, hi.
Then you don't have to deal with it. You know, you don't have to deal with their BS. You can just move through the world. It's like that shielding. You did a great class in grounding and shielding too, didn't you? Mm-hmm. We were just at PantheaCon together, and you did a great class there.
Yeah, that was. I'm a really big person on proponent of grounding and shielding because, you know, I mean, I think that a lot of us, we've heard about grounding and shielding and then we just blow past it because, oh, that's beginner stuff, that's basic stuff. And it may be beginner and basic stuff, but it's extremely important. And the shielding, I think that so many people don't realize how important shielding is, you know, and there's so many empaths these days. And if you're an empath and you aren't shielding,
it's too much.
Yeah, it really is. I do not know how I would survive without shielding, with as empathic as I am and open I am to everything. And, you know, there was a time when I could barely leave my house because I would step outside and get hit with all of the other energies that I would just kind of go back inside. And, you know, going to a movie theater, forget it, you know. So with the shielding, and, you know, I mean, and with when you're trying to block out somebody's energy, you know, you can shield against that particular person, that particular vibration. And okay, you can throw whatever you want at me, but it's bouncing off of me. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something. Do you have information besides your class about that? Have you disseminated any information, or do you teach people?
I have a grounding and shielding class that I do teach. Our friend Katrina, she at Crossroads, crossroadsoccult.com. She has an online classroom that she keeps saying, you know, Shannon, get some classes up there. So there's plans for me to record some of my classes and put them up there.
That'd be so good. Well, stay tuned. Do you have like an email list or something that they can sign up for on your site?
Actually, yeah, that's part of the offer. Actually, well, after there's a link to sign up for my emailing list, and if you sign up for my emailing list, then you can keep up to date on anything that I'm doing, like, you know, including. And every once in a while, I have specials, and I'll say, hey, get this, and it's, you know, whatever. So
that's really good. Yeah. SacramentoHealingTree.com is where you sign up, right? Yeah. Perfect. All right, let's look at some more questions and see what we got here. So, let's see what we got here. Sorry. What do you suggest are the essential items for a beginner altar? This is from Emily.
Well, is that for me or?
Yeah, that's for you. What would you do as a beginner altar?
So for me, you know, there's lots of, I am what I call an eclectic witch. So I don't follow anything. I don't want anybody telling me what to do, basically. So, you know, for my altar, you know, I mean, I had when I started, I wanted all of the elements, you know, kind of in it. And my altar is things that I love. So, and it's things that are special and precious to me, that I've accumulated, and I put them, that's what I put on my altar. I put things that are special to me. So, you know, I mean, I know that there's, you know, you need an athame and you need a chalice and you need this and this and that. And if those things are not special to you, then don't put them on your altar. That's what I believe. And I think that if we get quiet and we really say, you know, what do I think should go on my altar, we will get the answers that are right for us. So that's what I think.
I think your answer is totally on point. I think if you're practicing a religion, you're going to get some direction as to what put on your altar. If you're practicing Wiccan, you're going to put those things representing the four elements: the athame, the chalice, the whatever, the wand. What do they put?
It's a wand, and then I'm not sure.
Athame is like a knife, and then you have
the chalice for the water.
Pentacle for earth. Okay,
yes.
There you go.
I don't know what I think maybe incense is for air.
Or feather.
I don't know. A candle, I guess, for fire. So
if you're Catholic, you're going to put a saint on your altar or a crucifix or something like that. If you're, you know, it just sort of depends on your faith. If you're following a faith, they're going to give you some guidelines. If you are not following a faith, guess what? You get to do it yourself. So I think I teach people how to do ancestor altars. There's all kinds of components that you can put on an ancestor altar. For example, you can put an image. I think it's always good to have an image of something, whether that's a photograph, a statue, a representation of some kind. If you're working with a deity, you might want to have a picture of a deity up there. If you're working with a certain kind of energy, you might, or a holiday or something like that, you might want to put up something that represents that to you. I think it's super important that that thing, you resonate, like Shannon said, you resonate with it. If you're working with spirits, you can put up a glass of spring water, a beautiful flower. You can put up a little shot of whiskey or a shot of vodka or a shot of whatever, or you can put a little chocolate or a piece of fruit, a little offering to that spirit. But those are spirit altars. I have an altar in my room where I just, anytime I find a thing that represents something that I want more of, a symbolic kind of thing, I put it up on that altar. So symbolic things could be like, you know, you find a penny on the street, that's free money. I want more free money, so I'll put my penny up on the altar. Or I might decide that I want to have a love in my life. So I might create a list of the things that I want in my lover and put that up on the altar. So there's all kinds of things that you might have a little stone, like maybe you have a little citrine. We're talking about gemstones. You want more prosperity, you might put that citrine up on your altar. So you can find things in your whole world, actually. Probably you don't have to go out and buy stuff to make an altar. It's rearranging things that are symbolic to you and putting them on your altar with an intention or meaning. So it sort of depends on your altar. I've seen beautiful altars that are dedicated to love and bringing more love in, or prosperity, or mine's a kind of a little bit of everything that I am wanting to enhance or bring in more of. And then there's spirit altars where you're actually working with a certain spirit, whether that's a deity or, you know, an ancestor or something like that. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
I just, you know, I mean, when I get a lot of feathers, and I believe that those are from my guides or my loved ones who aren't here anymore. And I'll pick up those, and you'll know which one of the feathers are for you. And I put those on my altar as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too. I say my angels are watching over me when I have my, I know it's a pigeon, everyone. I know it's a pigeon, but I still look at that symbol.
This one time I found a black feather inside a elevator, and I was like, okay, this is for me, because how would it get in there otherwise? I mean, yeah, right. You know, so. I
found some amazing feathers. I found like giant macaw feathers on the street. I found feathers. I laugh, like sometimes this is so perfect. I find like a lime green marabou feather off of somebody's fabulous, stole, Mardi Gras stole. I'm like, that feather's for me because that's a crazy color. That one's for me. So yeah, I mean, I look at those feathers too and like see, you know, you can see blue jay feathers, iridescent feathers, you know, I always look at those ones like, wow, that's really a special one. A black feather in an elevator, like what the heck, you know, crow was not in this elevator. So yeah, you can look at crows are pretty smart. They probably could figure out how to work an elevator, you know.
Probably so, yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. This is a great question. How does someone become more intuitive? This is from Christy and Tiffany. I have never had good intuition, and sometimes had it lead me astray. How do I build it up its potential, especially when doing tarot cards?
So what I would say for and this is what I tell all of my students this, get a book or an app on your phone or something like that. And when something happens that you had intuition about, that write it down, because one of the biggest things, the biggest blocks to intuitions or any kind of building your psychic ability, it's your own doubt. And we all have doubt. And anybody that tells you that they don't have any doubt, they're lying to you. So don't believe them. So, and then what happens is if you start to go, oh, I'm wrong, I'm not doing this right, you have this kind of this book for busting all of your doubt. So, and the other good thing about when you write all those things down, you're telling the universe, yourself, that, hey, I'm paying attention now. And there's no coincidences, by the way. So that's actually you being in tune with your intuition. So if you had this, I was thinking about Laura, and then she showed up on on this interview that I was on, because my friend's on here. So I knew that she was going to come. And that's an intuition. That's a psychic ability. If you show up someplace and you're wearing the same color clothes as somebody else, that's actually psychic ability right there. That's intuition, because one of you decided before the other one, I'm going to wear this red shirt. And then you say, hey, when did you decide to wear that red shirt? Didn't you figure out who decided first, so who was sending the message and who was getting the message? It's the little things build. So that's what I would say. And Pamita can absolutely answer this more in depth than I am. But when I'm looking at tarot cards, when your eyes go right to one part of the card, read that card and what does it say to you? I was reading a card for somebody one time that had absolutely nothing on this card could say that somebody had a problem with alcohol, but I zoned in on the grapes and said, is there a problem with wine? And there was. So, you really need to, and if you write those things down, then that's again going to build up your confidence, and then you're going to be able to relax more into your intuition.
It's a very funny thing that happens when you're a reader too. I've gotten used to it, but when it first used to happen to me when I was young, I would get so thrown by it. And that is like, you'll say something, you'll get an intuitive hit, and the person will negate.
Yeah.
Like you'll say, oh, I'm seeing that there's a pregnancy. Are you pregnant? And they'll go, no, I'm not pregnant. I'm not going to get pregnant. I can't get pregnant or whatever. And then what will happen is 6 months later, they're like, oh my God, I couldn't see that was going to happen. And I did get pregnant. Oh my God, that's so crazy. So I remember when I was a baby tarot reader, getting really thrown when someone would negate what I said in a reading. Now, when someone negates it, I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. I don't take it to heart, because I go, a day can turn everything around to a place that they can't even see right now from where they're standing. So just let that information be out there and let it lie there. Don't second guess yourself, put it out there, and then it will be revealed as to what that thing is.
Yeah.
I think there's what?
I often say, oh, if that doesn't fit right now, why don't you just write that down and see if it makes sense later?
Yeah, perfect. That's a perfect thing to do. So I think there's something that it can shake your confidence when you're a new reader to have someone negate what you're saying. But as you get more experience and you start getting that feedback of someone going, oh my God, you said I was going to do this and I didn't see it at the time, and now it totally happened. That's when you get it always at a delay, or maybe you don't even get it at all, because you may have a reading with someone and you may never see them again. When I was first starting out, I was doing readings in a cafe. I wasn't going to see that person again, so, but another thing that I recommend to people when they're just starting to build their intuition, I call this like lifting weight, like lifting dumbbells, working with a pendulum. So I have a video that teaches you how to work with a pendulum, but a pendulum gives you black and white, yes, no answers. And what it does is it bypasses that critical thinking, the critic inside of you that's saying, that's second guessing the information that you're getting. And it goes straight to your intuition, straight to your guide connection. So let's say, for example, you had a sense that someone had a drinking problem, but you weren't sure if it was you just making it up or if it was real. Ask your pendulum, is it real? Is there a drinking problem? And it will tell you yes or no, black and white. It's going to tell you. And that can help you with starting to identify what's your intuitive voice in your head or images versus what you are creating. Now, when you're like, I think I remember when I was beginning, always like, is this me making this up, or is that really a thing? Now I hear those voices and I know what are my voices from my guides and what are my voice. I can tell the difference because it's now been decades of me doing that. But I remember at the beginning being really confused as to what was intuition and what was just my imagination. Although imagination helps with intuition, so you don't want to shut that down, So yeah, so work with a pendulum too. If the tarot cards are bringing too much confusing information, I think pendulum is great because it's very black and white. It's yes, no, You can ask those yes, no questions. And there's a video I have up, an ancient video. It's like 10 years old. I have short hair, no wrinkles.
What color is your hair though?
It's a darker version of this. It's like a dark plum, not so bright. Okay, so here's another question from Julie. I've been carrying my mojo bag for months. How long should you carry with one before starting to do another one? Do you work with mojo bags at all?
Not at all. I know
Okay,
lots
so
of people that do, but I don't have any experience with mojo bags.
So mojo bags are interesting. It's like any kind of spell work. If you are not seeing a mojo bag might be the right modality for what you're doing. It might not be the right modality. So even somebody who's like, yes, I've done my mojo bag. I haven't let anyone else see it or touch it. I'm wearing it every day. I'm feeding it every week. I'm doing everything. And I'm not really seeing the strong result that I'm hoping to get. It doesn't mean that you're not meant to get that thing, or that it just might not be the right kind of work for that thing. There's all different kinds of magic that you can do. Mojo bags have a kind of, I call them like sandpaper on a block of wood energy. You're doing something repetitively to get a result. So it's not going to be explosive turnaround work generally. Sometimes we see a mojo bag that has that quality, but in general, mojo bags don't have that. We see mojo bags where you want to kind of build something continuously. So let's say, for example, like you want to build your prosperity, your success, your good luck. That's something that you want ongoing. So a mojo bag is great for that. But let's say you have a situation where you're meeting a block. You're at an impasse. You and your ex are not talking to one another. You might need to have something a little more breakthrough kind of energy. Mojo bags generally aren't that kind of a breakthrough energy. They're a little softer, a little more consistent like that, as opposed to dynamite blowing something up. So you might want to bring in another element. You might want to work with a mojo bag and a candle, for example, or you might want to do a cleansing bath or do something like that in addition to the mojo bag, and see if it is, helps that along, or if you're seeing with your mojo bag, it's like kind of doing this and not moving fast enough for you. I've got Aries clients, fire sign clients are like, it's not happening fast enough. I go, but it's happening. Like, just look at it, what progress you have made. So I think it's like expectation versus result. It's like, is this the appropriate modality for what you're doing? That's a good, those are things that you want to ask yourself. Another thing I would say too, is mojo bags have a lifespan. Generally, we look at them needing to be refreshed once a year. So you can add like new herbs, fresh herbs to it, kind of give it or do a new mojo bag altogether. That can be a thing that you can do. If you have one that's working, you wouldn't want to get rid of it. You just want to refresh it. And so refreshing it would be adding new herbs to it, wearing it close to you for a week, kind of reviving it a little bit after about a year. So try, maybe also too, you could try wearing your mojo bag for a week, like in your bra or in your, something close pinned to your underwear, undergarments, inside your clothes or something like that, to see if that doesn't help it along if you're not using it every day, and then I would check in also with those other things. Are you feeding it once a week? Are you taking good care of it? Has anyone touched it? Maybe someone has touched it and you don't know. I mean, that can kill a mojo bag and then it won't do anything. So those are all things that you would want to check out with a mojo bag. So got lots to check out there. So you can try any or all of those things. Here's a question for Shannon. Angela says, how does Shannon clear the proxy owl before she goes to the next client?
So when, well, I would obviously stage baths, but then what I do is I actually give my proxy doll an aura healing itself. So I go through and I pull out any energy that's in it and put it down a grounding card. So the doll actually gets its own healing in between every client, so that I'm not transferring anything, because nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. Safe proxy healing.
Yes.
Putting a condom over the proxy doll.
Okay, so we were talking about this before. We were talking about the shielding, and I said when we're working with clients, one of the things that I tell people in the shielding class is to put like an energetic condom over you, and then when you're done working with a client or somebody, then you can just pull it off and throw it down your grounding cord, and you're clean again. So
I love that.
Random condom comment.
They're You're all like, Madame Pamita. Here's another question for you, Shannon. Do you have clients with chronic illnesses like rheumatoid arthritis who have spiritual block? Are you seeing a connection between chronic illness and spiritual blocks? This is from Nina.
You know, it's I have a theory that that the mind body spirit connection is very, very real. So I think that things start to come into our auras, and if we don't, or if we're not aware of them, they manifest into to chronic illnesses. And I'm not saying that that is your fault, because, you know, I mean, I don't know what's coming into my aura either, you know. So, but that's but they can manifest in. So, you know, and once it's manifested in your body, it takes a lot more time to heal it. And sometimes it doesn't happen in this lifetime for the healing, but with any of the healing modalities that I do use, it can provide some relief of the symptoms. I have my best friend has actually got quite a few chronic illnesses, and I'm constantly working on her, and they help with that as well. So Reiki is always will help chronic illnesses. If at the least, it will provide some relief of the symptoms.
You know, also too, like talking about healing magic, I had a blog post. I have to put it back up again. I revamped my blog, and some of the old posts I have to repost again. But I have one about healing magic. And when we do magic for healing, what people think it is not what it is. So when we talk about doing spells for healing, people are like, oh, I'm going to light this candle and then I'm going to get better. And while I think there are times that we do have spontaneous healings from doing magical work. Now, I'm not talking about Reiki. I'm not talking about what you're doing. I'm talking about when someone does a spell. What I find with spell work happens 98% of the time is not that the spell creates the healing, but the spell leads you to the healer or leads you to the information that you need to get the healing, because we're dealing with a material world thing, your physical body. And so when we're working with fire, we're working with candles, we're working with spirit energy. And unless it's a purely spiritual illness, which I do believe those exist, but that's not the vast majority. The vast majority are things that you're eating the wrong thing, you got exposed to some kind of virus, you have, you know, a genetic predisposition to something or whatever. Those kinds of things, we want to look for the material world healing to be there as the support for us. I'll give the perfect example is that I have autoimmune issues, Hashimoto's, among other things. And one of the things that I had was, and I have a genetic predisposition to it. My mother had autoimmune stuff. I have autoimmune stuff. I mean, I'm like I have been following in her footsteps, you know, in terms of like health stuff. However, I knew when my mom was sick, I was like, I know there's something that she could be doing. But this was the days before there was internet. There wasn't anything you could find. You'd find a book here and there, but nothing really with some concrete answers. So what happened to me was I had alopecia areata, which is bald spots, like perfectly like silver dollar sized bald spots. And I was like, what is this happening? There's something here. There's a piece of information that I'm not getting. I was going to a dermatologist. They give a cortisone shot, but nothing really shifted. Nothing changed. He's like, oh, it's because of stress. And I'm like, that's not the answer. My intuition was telling me that's not the answer. So I did a healing spell, not even really thinking about what that would mean, like what the healing spell. I was just like, I want to resolve this issue. It's scaring me. It's freaking me out. It's making me feel like I'm going to go down this inevitable path that my mom went down. And so I did this healing spell. After I did the healing spell, I was researching online. I'm like, I don't know. You know, you go on the internet, which is such a magical thing. It's like you go on the internet and you put out an intention for something with the candle. I want healing. And I stumbled on a site that talked about Hashimoto's, which is the other thing I have, another autoimmune thing on your thyroid. And it said, oh, my Hashimoto's was resolved when I stopped eating wheat. This was 10, 12 years ago, before all the gluten-free stuff really was a thing. And I was like, oh, stop eating wheat. Well, I'll try that. What's the big deal? I'll just do that and see if that helps. The minute I did that, my hair started growing back. In 2 weeks, I had hair on those spots. Haven't eaten wheat since then, haven't had a problem with it. So the inflammation that was happening for me with the autoimmune thing, which is inflammation, I found the solution because I did that spell. It led me magically to that synchronicity of finding that piece of information that was exactly the piece of information I need. So I think that healing spells will lead us to the right people, the right information. They'll lead us to the people that can resolve our issues or bring us to our next step, whatever that is. And so that's one of the ways that I work with healing spells, not as a healer, but as a spell practitioner, telling people, here, do your healing work, do a release and restore candle to do your restoration. But it's not going to, you can't just sit there and say, okay, well, the spell is doing it. You have to open up to the synchronicities of where it's going to lead you. What spell was it? A release and restore candle. Well, my version back then, I didn't have the release and restore candle, but that's the version I have now. Yeah. And what it's Nina's saying in the comments, like, yeah, it's really rough. What was it? And it's really rough. It's going to lead you to the right healers, the right modalities, the right information. And if you're dealing, with, here's a little tip, because you're dealing with something autoimmune, and because I've been on this journey of autoimmune stuff, and rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune thing. Look up functional medicine, because that's the information I started finding. And functional medicine, that term, if you type in functional medicine, rheumatoid arthritis in Google, you will find a ton of information that may help you. And you don't even have to light a candle. You get that for free.
Well, it's interesting that you're talking about the wheat, because I actually have scoliosis, and one of my legs is about a ½ inch longer than the other one, which can cause enormous amounts of pain. And at one point I could barely walk. And somehow one of my friends suggested I did that Whole30 diet thing. Do you remember that? That was a while ago. And I said, there's no way I'm doing that, but go off of dairy. 2 weeks, my pain stopped. And then just recently, been having a really hard time with migraines. And I cut out sugar, and I haven't had a migraine in 3 weeks. So it's very much, the things that we put into our body can do a lot, and we don't think that they're the thing, but they could be. And if you get any hints that it might be, try it. It can't hurt anything. Yeah,
I think, functional medicine is something where they look at the whole system, the whole body. So they're not looking at a specialist like a rheumatologist that's just looking at your RA. They're actually looking at how your whole body is interacting. The whole organism is interacting, on all the parts of the organism are connecting with one another. So it's like your hormones, your mental state, your spiritual, all of that. So I think you want to look at that as a place to start too. And that may be, and then if you're still looking and searching for those answers and that relief, then do a candle spell, of any kind. You don't have to do a release and restore candle. That's the candle that I offer. That's the healing candle. But you can have your own, light a blue candle, for whatever it is that you want, or even write out a petition for whatever it is that you want, and carry it next to your heart, or, there's lots of spells that you can do. But the most important thing is that you get the thought, the intention out there that I'm going to find a solution. And then you allow the synchronicities to happen, and you pay attention to those synchronicities. You follow through on it. Like something in my guides, or somebody were telling me, my intuition, my guidance, I don't know who it was at that point, but telling me, look up Hashimoto's and whatever, and it came up with this weird piece of information that totally led me on that path. So that's how you do healing magic for me, but there's also amazing, like I've had Reiki treatments, and I love Reiki. So I love all of the aspects. It's not just about the physical, going to a doctor. I mean, I go to a nutritionist, I do acupuncture, all of those things. So, but they'll lead you to the right healers, whether it's a Reiki practitioner or auric healing or anything else like that. So yeah. All right. Here's a good question. When you do readings, what do you see or feel that makes you see out into the future? That is a fascinating question and a long answer. I'll try and make it really short when I get to it. But what do you
That's interesting. When it's to know that it's in the future. That's interesting. Well, I'm not sure that I know how to answer that.
Can I answer? And then maybe you can add something too, because I have a lot to say about it.
I'm not sure how to put that into words. I've not been asked that before, so I'm kind of stumbling. So you go.
This is fascinating. So there are things that people look at as disabilities that I see as definitely differently abled. One of those things is people on the spectrum. People on the spectrum, autism spectrum, it's not a disability per se. It's only a disability if you're trying to fit that, square peg into a round hole, round peg in a square hole, whatever you call it, whatever it is. You're trying to make someone fit into your certain way that you want the world to be, and you're not meeting them where they are. And then that becomes a problem, and it's a problem we need to fix, right? And I look at people with where they come from with all of their abilities are different abilities. Now, one of the fascinating things is I have a friend who works with kids who are on the spectrum. And she said to me, I talked to this child, and this child was saying to me, I can tell your future. Well, that made my ears perk up, because this is my business that I deal in. Predictions, looking at things, where things are going. And I had my own ideas about it. But I loved what this kid said to his teacher, my friend, which was, I look at you, he's saying this to the teacher, I look at you and I see all the possibilities of all the things that could happen, and I see which way you're going. I said, it's exactly what I say. If you see the car driving toward the cliff, you predict that the car is going to drive off the cliff, right? Could the car turn right at the last minute? Sure. But when we see a car driving off the cliff, we kind of get an idea that car's going to be going off the cliff, right? So when I look at somebody's future, I always say that there's free will involved, because there is free will involved. I believe 100% in free will. So when someone says this is your destiny, I don't see it as a destiny like the popular definition of destiny. Destiny means I can't escape it. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. There's no changing that destiny, right? That idea. I see it as a little bit differently. I see that if you have strong will, you can change and move anything the way you want it to move. But if you are going with the flow, you're probably going in a certain direction and going to continue. Most people, when they're on a thing, they don't make huge shifts. So when I look at something, when people will ask me about something, I cannot 100% every single time say, yes, this is what's going to happen. Because some things have strong destiny-like forces. And if that's the case, then I can say, oh yeah, this is really strong in the reading, and I'm getting this message that you're headed for really success and prosperity, and it's really going to be amazing. But what if they sit on that and they never do anything with it? Like maybe what the contingency is, they have to go out and look for a job, but they don't go out and look for a job. Then they're turning off their path. But generally, when I see those strong paths, there's no veering off. It would be a lot of effort to veer off that path. They've got a certain energy that's saying success. And unless they do something super dramatic, they're going to head towards success. But sometimes we look at things and it's like, it's not really a strong direction one way or the other. And in that case, I go, it could really go either way. It doesn't mean that I'm not seeing it. It's just that there's not a strong enough push in one certain direction. Like if you said to me, what am I going to eat tonight for dinner? I mean, it'll be a dumb question to ask a reader, but what am I going to eat tonight for dinner? You got probably 5 things in your fridge that are probably pleasing to you, and you could eat any number of those things, right? And any of them would make you satisfied. So there's not a strong destiny in that. So to say I would say is not enough. There's not enough information. There's not enough of a strong path. So not every question has that strong pull like a destiny. Not every future has a strong, but when you see it, you know it. It comes to that intuition and that inner knowing. If I see someone has fame energy, for example, they have that energy of luck and fame, and it's showing up in their cards, and they resonate with that. You can say it with confidence. And if they have a resonance of like self-destructiveness, I mean, we look at the opposite, you know, self-destructiveness. Can they turn it around? Sure. Have you ever known drug addicts or alcoholics or people that were really deep in their addiction, and you just could see the inevitable, that you were like, they're killing themselves? We've all probably had some encounter like that. And you're not doing a prediction, but you are doing a prediction, because you see they're driving off that cliff, and they aren't interested in turning off. They aren't interested in going in a different direction. They really aren't. So we see it in both the positive, and we can see it in the negative. Now you can give that information in a reading. Oh, I see you driving off the cliff. However, if you do this, this, and this, you can avoid that driving off the cliff. And then they can take that information and do whatever with it. So does that kind of make sense to you?
When I'm giving readings, I mean, my guides give me pictures. So I don't often use cards. So I'm seeing pictures, and I'll say, you know, like one recently, do you jog around a pond? Because I see you meeting a man around this pond. Is this something that you already do? If not, is there a pond near you that you can walk through, kind of thing? So because when my guide's giving me information, it's not really clear to me if it's already happened or if it's happening. So I kind of need to have a conversation with my client about, this is what they're showing me. Do you have any, you know, I need a little bit more information from the client when it happens. So it's hard for me to say, yes, this is absolutely what's about to happen to you, kind of thing, unless it's kind of within the reading, and that's the direction that we're going. So it's a great question. It's just kind of hard for me to answer.
Yeah. And I think you're kind of affirming what I'm saying, which is that no reader is a trained seal that can do the thing that you want them to do every single time. Yeah. We're getting information that's going to be helpful to you. And it may be, if you say, well, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Sometimes you get, in my experience and in the experience of legit readers, I mean, you can have anybody take your money and tell you whatever they want, you know, then that happens, believe me. Or they'll want to charge you a whole bunch to do a spell to get rid of your curse. You know, there's that whole thing too.
That one.
But, so, you know, if you are really with a legit reader, and every legit reader that I know has had this experience where you're getting information, but you have a conversation with the client. However, that being said, I've done readings with clients who aren't present. They just send me a question via email, and I email them back, and I've nailed things spot on without having any information and talking back and forth. So it's learning how to be in that place of flow and trusting what your download is, what you're getting, what your guides are showing you, what your intuition is telling you, or however you are working, and then transmitting that information. I think as the person transmitting that information, if you're seeing something that is a person driving off a cliff, you also should be offering them, how do you avoid that thing? So we never, as readers, will say, oh, you're driving off a cliff. We say, oh, I'm seeing here this inevitability that you're going to be creating some health issues for yourself related to those grapes that I'm seeing in the cards that are saying that you're drinking too much, that you might want to pull back on your drinking, or, you know, start to really reflect on what you're doing to your body and start to make a change that can be constructive. Or, you know, you got free will. If you want to live fast, die young, maybe that's your desire. Maybe this world is too hard for you, and this life is too hard for you, and you want to just have it. And I think that is, as sad as that is for the people around you, the people that care around you. I mean, some people they make it hopefully through their own free will, you know?
You know, and another thing that happens, that when I'm teaching and to my students about opening up to their intuition, is very often the really dramatic bad things catch our attention, and we want to run right out. And so, like, I just recently, I kept seeing a white car getting T-boned, and I don't own a white car, and my wife doesn't own a white car. So my sister-in-law, however, does. And so instead of going to her and saying, you're going to get into an accident, my response was, you know, I have this feeling that you should be really careful in intersections. So before you go through an intersection, look both ways, instead of saying, I see this accident. And she actually came back to me and told me, you know, I almost went through a light when it was kind of yellow, but I had a feeling I should stop, and a car went right through and would have hit her. So, I mean, like, yeah. And my grandnephew was in her car too. So that would have been super bad, you know, so, but it really is important how the message is delivered. And that, because if you're telling somebody that they're going to get into an accident, they can then go and manifest an accident. So that's one of the responsibilities of a reader, to deliver it in a way that's not going to cause more harm.
Well, what's fascinating that happened to me as a receiver.
Oh, really?
I was in Glastonbury. I was staying with Adele Clow is her name. She had a witch themed B&B in Glastonbury, England. I was led to go to Glastonbury completely synchronistically. The whole thing was synchronicities galore. And she and I got together on my, like the last couple days I was there. I ended up staying a week. And she said to me, she goes, did your ex-husband try and run you over with a car? And I'm like, no, my ex-husband is so sweet and so nice. Not in a million years would that happen. I said, but what's really funny is a couple of weeks ago, one of my friends in the States sent me a message and said, be really careful crossing the street, because I had a dream about you that you got hit by a car. And at the time, 2 weeks prior, I had said to the friend, I'm like, yeah, I go, I'm looking both ways. I know that the cars move the other way in England. I know I have to look the opposite way. I have to look left instead of looking right, or whatever it is. I don't know my right from my left. Anyway, I have to look the other way. She probably was right about me. I don't know which way to look, but you know, I was being careful, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, your dream. Okay, whatever. So Adele brought this up, and I'm like, no, my ex-husband didn't run me over. But that's funny that you said that, because 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine said, watch and be careful crossing the street. So we chatted for a little bit longer. I walk back to the B&B where we're staying. So we were hanging out at her shop. We walk back to the B&B, and I'm at a zebra crossing, which is a marked place with blinking lights, a crosswalk. It's 10 o'clock at night in this tiny little village. There's nobody around. I'm walking back. I didn't see anybody around as I'm walking back down the street. No people around, no pedestrians, and no cars around. I get to the crosswalk and I see a car coming. So I waited, and the car stopped at the crosswalk. What is the normal thing that you do at a crosswalk when the car is stopped? You go walk, right? Because she had said that thing, I saw another car coming behind that car. Normally it would not have even occurred to me. But because we had just had that conversation 15 minutes before, something triggered that intuition. Don't go until that second car behind the first car stops. The second car never stopped. It hit at 40 miles an hour, that car that was waiting for me. Had I stepped out, I would have been right in front of that car. I would have gotten killed.
Wow.
And then the crazy thing happened. That car hit the other car. And this man, who I will say was one of the fair folk, he was not a human, appeared on the street next to me that I had just walked down, where there was no people. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. But I was shaken, because I was like, I almost stepped out into that whole mess. So I was like, this being appeared and spoke with me. And we talked for a little while, and then he went on his way. Glastonbury is all I have to say.
Yeah,
so there's an example of where somebody even saying to you a message and paying attention to those messages. Yeah, those are fair folk. We'll talk about that another time. We're at the end of our time break. Come back next week and ask me questions about the fair folk and my encounters with the fair folk in Glastonbury. There was a lot of them. Anyway, that's important. Why those messages? Yes, you want to present those messages like you did to your sister-in-law. Say, be careful in intersections, not scare them. And I think of that beautiful, like my guides, my guardians, my ancestors always watch out for me, always at all times. Someone's saying like, oh my God, thank your gods for that. Yes, for sure. And then I forgot, that was so funny. I forgot to tell you one thing about this. So then I talked to the friend that had made the prediction 2 weeks earlier, had the dream. And I said, I'm so glad you told me that dream. You saved my life because you brought up that dream. I brought it up in the conversation and I didn't get it. She goes, what I didn't tell you in that dream is that I had seen news that you had died. I didn't say that to you when I talked to you. I just said, be careful crossing the street because I dreamt that you got hit by a car, but I didn't tell you that I dreamt that you died in that car.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And here I am, still here. So anyway, so our time is, we've gone a little bit over. That was such an interesting conversation. Thank you. Thank you. So much fun talking. I know. It's amazing. Shannon, tell the people once again, you're offering an amazing offer. I want you to give a blast out for that again. So
it's 30-minute aura healing and clearing for only $35. If you go to sacramentohealingtree.com/madam-pamita-offer, and you will find there that's where you can get it. It's only going to be up for 2 weeks. After
$35.
Yeah, 35. Like, yeah, it's pretty good.
That's like the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, isn't it?
$35. Yeah, that's quite an expensive cup of coffee. So if you have any questions, you can email me at shannon@sacramentohealingtree.com. And if you want to come and see me in person, I actually work out of a really fantastic shop called Crossroads Metaphysical Store in Shingle Springs, California. And lots of fun stuff happens there. And that website is crossroadsoccult.com. So
let me go into that. Can I figure out how to go in the chat? You guys, I am totally.
Oh, I can type that in there.
Oh, there's the chat. Yeah, you can type, you want to type while I do the wrap up, you can type in the chat the link so that they can go to your site. They can sign up for your email list. They can get that good deal. There we go. sacramentohealingtree.com. It will also be in the recording. When I put the recording on YouTube, I'll put the link below. Hey, also you guys, thank you guys so much for joining us in this new revamped Clubhouse with the Q&A. I kind of like that Q&A thing. I'm on my iPad today because Mercury retrograde likes playing tricks on me. I don't have any internet today, but I do have Wi-Fi, and so I was able to go on my iPad and get to see you guys. So it's been a day. It's been a Mercury retrograde day for me, but we're flowing with it. We're all good. The link should be in the chat. People are asking, where's the link? It's in the chat. If you look in the chat, the link to the special deal. Do you want to type that one in too? Okay. Thank you to all of you Spell Squad members who are here with us in our new room. We're so happy to have you here. It was so lovely. I love the new Q&A format. It's kind of cool. I'm loving it. And it's fun to look at those questions and have those come up. Thank you so much to you, Shannon, for being here. You are such a dear friend to me and a dear colleague, and I love everything that you're doing. She just amazing things. If you're ever in the Sacramento area, which is in Northern California, kind of inland Northern California, inland, a little bit north and inland from San Francisco. You're not considered Northern California, actually. I think San Francisco and Sacramento are Central California. Yes. Humboldt is Northern California. Shasta is Northern California.
So I've actually grew up in the Bay Area on the peninsula. So Sacramento is north. It's it's Northern California.
Okay. Is that the cutoff line?
So, yeah.
So if you're in that area, you can, yay peninsula, says Laura. If you're in the area, you can check out their beautiful shop. It's an amazing, gorgeous space, and Shannon works out of there doing her sound healings and all of that. It's so it's really lovely, and you do all your other healings there too.
Yes, yeah.
And you do your distance healing there and all of that. So if you are interested in that, you can reach out to her that way. You can reach out to her and get on her email list anyway, and she'll have some goodies for you for doing that. And I want to thank you guys for joining us in the new improved Clubhouse, and we'll see you next week. Next week, I don't have my laptop, so I can't tell you who my guest is next week. What's the date next week? Maybe that will help me. Oh,
I wanted to say thank you so much for having me here. It was a lot of fun, and you know that I love you. And
I love you too.
Everybody that came and asked questions, because I'm sure we could have talked about things, but it's much more fun when people ask questions.
I love the questions you guys ask. Okay, I'm going to my website on my phone to find out who my guest is next week. Mercury retrograde, you guys. Oh, it's saying I have no connection. Okay. Oh my gosh.
So somebody's going to be here next week.
Somebody's going to be here next week. I will be here next week. Oh, you know what it might be? What's the date today? The 23rd?
Yes.
It might be that I'm at Northwest Tarot Symposium. Let me see. And if that's the case, I'll be doing it live from there. And I will have whoever is in the area, all the tarot people are going to be there. Northwest Tarot Symposium. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Hang on, you guys. Okay. Next week is March 1st. Oh, no, I'm not going to be at Northwest Tarot Symposium. Katrinka Carpets, who is from thewitchery.ca, a Canadian Slavic magic website. She's amazing. Nice. We're going to talk about Slavic magic next week. She and I are both Ukrainian. I'm half Ukrainian. I don't know if she's all Ukrainian or half, but we're going to talk about Slavic magic. Look at, I'm wearing my Ukrainian.
Just like that out.
My Ukrainian embroidery today. So she will be my guest next week. So you will definitely want to come to that one. It's going to be amazing. I'm doing a ton of research on Ukrainian magic, and I'm finding out all kinds of cool things. I'm very into it. Very into it. It's like my secret obsession right now. Not so secret. I'm going to be sharing some of that stuff. But anyway, thank you, Shannon, for coming. Ukrainian magic. Woo! All right, you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you again soon. I know our paths will cross again. I'll either be coming up to see you, or we'll see each other at some kind of this or that around the world somewhere. Thanks you guys for coming to the clubhouse. We'll see you next week at the live magic Q&A. If you are watching this on YouTube, sign up, join us. Go to spellsquad.com, sign up, and you'll be in like Flynn. It'll give you that code, the secret code to get in the clubhouse, and we'd love to have you here. All right, everybody, have a beautiful week. The link, spellsquad.com, will lead you to the way to get in, but you're already in. So if you're typing a message, you're already in. It'll be this link again. We've got a new link to come to the meetings, and this link is good for the next 20 weeks. So, and beyond, until I change formats at some point, who knows? To the 35, link to the 35, Shannon's link. She posted it on the chat, I believe. But it will also be below the YouTube video.
There you go.
There you go. One more time. One more time for the people in the back. There's nobody in the back. You're all in the front row. All right, you guys have a beautiful week. We'll see you again. Thank you again, Shannon. We'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. It's not showing. It will be in the, if it's not showing, it'll be in the YouTube video, and I post that as soon as my internet comes back, which will be a couple days. It's not showing. Go to Sacramento. Go to SacramentoHealingTree.com, SacramentoHealingTree.com, and you can send Shannon a message and she'll hook you up, right?
Yes,
you're gonna
yeah.
You're gonna have lots of pen pals now. Sorry.
Yeah. So, there's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all SacramentoHealingTree.com. You can find me. Just send me a message.
And if you send her a message, she'll be happy to help you. She's sweet like that. You're Virgo. Always of service. Yeah. All right, you guys, have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I'll see you next Sunday when Katrinka Carpets. I want to say Katrinka all the time. It's Katrinka Carpets. So Katie Carpets. I call her Katie. So yes, we'll see you next week. Have a great week, you guys. Bye. Let's see if I know how to. Oh, there's how I end the meeting. Have a great week. Bye.